Namaste all. Today we will discuss about discovery approach. So discovery approach is an approach based on constructivist theories. So first of all, let us see the meaning of discovery or the discovery approach. It's considered as a philosophy of teaching, as discovery learning. That's a movement itself for discovery learning or for, against that rote learning or memory learning or stage specific learning, etc. So students are permitted to find solutions to problems on their own. So that's the basic concept or the basic meaning of discovery. Students have the opportunity to find solutions to problems on their own at their own pace. They can do it either individually or in groups. And it's an active hands-on style of learning, originated by the proponent of this approach is Jerome Bronner, and it emerges during the 1960s. So almost 60-year-old approach. It based on the idea that students construct their own knowledge. It's a constructive, uh, based on constructive theories and their own understanding and knowledge of the world is significant, and through experiencing things and reflecting on those experiences. So these are some of the basic concepts regarding discovery. There shall be, the learner is considered as having some previous experiences, and based on the experiences they are confronting with new experiences and reflect upon the new experiences based on their existing knowledge. So that's the essence of discovery. And now we shall see what are the views of Jerome Brunner regarding this discovery, because he is the pioneer in this approach, proponent of the approach. So he argues that learners construct their own knowledge. So that's a revolutionary concept at that time. The learner constructs the required knowledge and organizing, categorizing information using a coding system. He mentioned it as a coding system, three different stages for his uh, learning. He proposed that I am not going into the details of that stages here, but he mentioned about that construct knowledge, and the constructed knowledge were organized and categorized as specific codes, and this code shall be constructed by learners than told by a teacher. So when it is told by a teacher, it's just memorization, and when it is actually constructed by the learner, then it forms knowledge. That's his argument. Then their own knowledge for themselves. So what knowledge required for a learner, that will be constructed by the learners themselves. Then the duty of the teacher is to facilitate the process. In all these things, we can see a match between that of Vygotsky and Brunner. The role of teacher as facilitator, the role is highly significant. There is a misconception regarding this facilitation, that students will do, or students will discover whatever they like, and teacher can simply sit aside and watch. It is not like that. Teacher should have an active role, a more active than in a face-to-face teaching. And he also proposes a spiral curriculum. In this view, he is against the concept of Piaget that learning is stage or age dependent. It is not like that according to Brunner, because a learner, when provide appropriate situation, who can learn. It is not depending on the age or stage like that. So that's why he proposed a spiral curriculum in which a concept reappear by increasing in complexity, eh, from moving from lower level to higher level. So such kind of curriculum also he proposed. And according to Brunner, also language is highly significant. Language is a tool because in symbolic representation, he argues that language is highly significant for symbolic representation. Is third level he proposed, and that symbolic representation, the language of the learner, the language which is properly understood by a learner is highly significant. So wherever there is a disparity in a language, that will affect the process of learning according to Brunner. And he also emphasized the significance of social environment in learning and mentioned about scaffolding. Scaffolding is a process of helping structured interaction between an adult and a child, or an experienced person and a learner. So, the aim of this process is helping to achieve a specific goal or at a desired level. So, without this help of a teacher or an experienced person, a child could not reach up to that level or could not attain that specific end or goal or outcome. So that's why a teacher, that's the role of an experienced person to enable the learner to attain to a desired outcome. So a teacher shall, the duties of a teacher is clearly mentioned by Brunner, such as the teacher shall simplify the task, not only to just to provide some problems is not the duty of the teacher, but the teacher should simplify the task for the learners according to their level and according to their previous experience. Then motivating and encouraging learners for proceeding through this. Teacher have no time to rest. As and when the children working on the task, teacher should observe them, teacher should enable them, teacher should motivate them and encourage them to solve the problem. And highlighting the elements and errors in task. So as and when children or learners are progressing through the solving of the problem or the solving the task, developing the task, teacher should highlight the what are the various elements, what are the focal points, and whatever errors are happening in that. That's the duty of the teacher to point out those things to students. And teacher can also give some models. So by making use of those models, learners can solve the problem. So these are some specific duties as a facilitator. It's not a simple task to be a facilitator. So the details of discovery a learning method. Teachers will give students a problem and some resources to solve it. So that's the first element or first step in a discovery learning method. A problem shall be given by the teacher as well as some resources also, not the problem only. Suppose we are giving an assignment to students, we are giving that assignment question only, no mentioning about any resources. So it is not like that. The teacher should provide a problem as well as some resources, and by making use of these resources, learners has to work on the problem, and there may be a specific end result, but the focus is on steps and on critical thinking involved in getting there. Naturally, in traditional or face-to-face teaching, Even in science, what we are doing is children are doing some experiments, but actually the experiments, the end results will be known to everybody, and learners are forced to reach that particular ending. For example, when we are doing some titration, etc., in chemistry lab experiments, what shall be the end result? We will get, the learner will get concordant values, the same values into successive titrations. So naturally, there will be some adjusted values to get that concordant value. So it is not a discovery at all. So in actual discovery, there shall be a specific end, student will reach up to that, and sometimes they will not reach up to that desired end due to some errors. That also is highly valued in discovery method. So the end result is not so important, but the ways to reach that end result is highly significant. So teachers have to thoroughly observe the process, how this process is going on. So suppose we are uh, students are conducting research. So and finally they submit a report. An evaluator usually uh, see the report only. Sometimes the report will be extraordinary because it may be prepared by some other. So that product or that end is not so important, but the process, how the student proceed through the process of research, that should be validated. That should be observed properly. That's the significance of discovery learning. Then the role of the teacher, how a teacher shall be in a discovery approach. Teacher need to be flexible. So that's the first point. Teacher need to be well prepared, and teacher need to be organized. So these are the three essential qualities of a teacher: a flexible, well prepared and organized, and have an understanding of what is discovered in classroom is educationally valuable and can lead to further learning. So there shall be various things shall be discovered by learners, but among these discoveries, what all things are relevant for the current education or developing a particular concept, and what all things have uh, value for further learning, further conceptualization, development of other concepts. So a teacher should have such an in-depth knowledge, and teacher needs to be able to help children to apply any new skill required which is necessary to solve problems and draw conclusion. And teacher should be ready for that also. Help learners to acquire some new skills. A student have to use a microscope to solve some of his problems which the learner is not familiar. So in that case, the duty of the teacher is to enable the learner, to help the learner. So when there suppose in a higher class, when students are doing a research work, they have to adopt a new strategy, a diary method, which learner is not familiar, the scholar is not familiar with. So in that case, the teacher should help the scholar, or teacher should help the student to familiarize with the to acquire that new skill, how to do these things. So there are varied as well as specific roles mentioned for teachers, such as teacher should have quality such as flexible, well prepared and organized, and teacher should have thorough understanding of what all things will come out in the form of discovery, and which among, to what extent these are beneficial for developing concepts and acquisition of skills, especially new skills, and help them. Teachers should be ready to help children in developing new skills. And there are five important principles mentioned for discovery learning. They are problem solving, then learner management, integrating and connecting, information analysis and interpretation, failure and feedback. So these are the five principles. I am not going into the details of these principles. Problem solving also, is the beginning point of discovery, and how learner proceeds through that we are already discussed that teacher should help them by reducing the complexity of task, motivating them, help them to acquire new skills, etc., and integrating and connecting between their previous experience, previous knowledge, and the new situation. Then, how to analyze the information and interpret it properly. And there always shall be a chance for failure, because we mentioned that there shall be a specific outcome or specific result. In all the time, all the learners will not reach up to that end. And here in discovery, this failure is highly significant, that it's an opportunity for new learning. That feedback from that result, feedback from the failure is highly significant, because it will provide new understanding. So these are the five principles of discovery learning, and there are some limitations as well. It require that discovery approach require a well designed process. So that's the first precondition for a discovery approach to reach up to its success. If students needs to develop a comprehensive concept at the desired extent, a, a strong process, a systematic and well designed process is required. And naturally, teachers shall be well trained, and all topics are not suitable. Only selected topics are suitable for this discovery approach. Time, of course, is a factor. It's a time consuming because it is discovery. There shall be constraints depending on the nature of the background of the learners and the nature of the institution, curriculum, etc. And institution may not permit such kind of activities. Usually we are only think about finishing of the topics and prepare for the exams. It's not match with the process of discovery. Assessment will be difficult because the outcome will be varied, because each individual learner develop on his own or her own. So naturally we will not generalize, we could not generalize. The assessment process will be highly complicated. So that's, I think that's the reason why such marvelous methods, approaches, outstanding approaches will not get much emphasis in our system of education, all mainly because of this complexity in assessment. What we are aiming through assessment is to, we have to form some general result, not developing proper skills or capacities in individual learners, but whether he or she scores a certain percentage of marks only. That's only. So these are some limitations in discovery approach regarding its need to be highly structured, well qualified teachers, then applicable for only a limited uh, topics, the time factor and complexities in assessment. So these are our discussion about discovery approach, a very prominent approach, not only limited to science but also for languages as well. This approach is highly significant if we are properly utilized for that. So thanks for watching the presentation. Thank you all.